Morning, my name is Phil Don. I'm an engineering instructor at JPMA, and the idea behind these short video clips is to assist students that are trying to study or self-study for their oral prep from MEOL up to Class 1 level. So what I'm going to do today is put out a short video on engine overhaul, component inspection, calibration and qualification of parts prior to fitting it back to the engine. And the bits and pieces that we're going to be looking at are cylinder heads, pistons and rings, cylinder liners, conrods, bottom end bearings, main bearings, crankshafts, camshafts, camshaft bearings and all the cam follower gear, and finish it off with shutdown and protection devices, and the calibration of these and the verifications that they're working as per original design specification. So let's start off with cylinder heads. We want to be looking at the firing face, making sure that there's certainly no cracks in there. If there's cracks in there or any water that's leaked into the combustion space, it would have flashed off as steam, and you would notice that on one or two cylinder heads, if you have had water going into the combustion space, it will be very clean. The water's flashed off to steam, and it's steam cleaned that landing areas. If you see anything that's particularly clean when you strip your engine down for an overhaul, the warning bells need to be ringing. You would clean the bottom landing face of your cylinder head, visually inspect it, and then MPI, magnetic particle inspection, inspect any suspect areas, and these would be in the way of the stress concentrations. If you see anything with MPI, you may want to follow with a pressure test. You would fill the cylinder head with water, blank all of the ports except the one that you're going to connect your hand pump to, bleed all of the air out, and then pressure test it about 1.5 times its working pressure. Any water that's coming out, your cylinder head's scrapped really. So if it's scrapped and you've seen anything on MPI, you may argue that is it worth water testing? You are going to have to water test at some stage of the game depending on the hours on your engine. That is a class requirement, but not at every engine overhaul. Depends on the engine manufacturer and the class society, but at some stage of the game you will have to pressure test your cylinder heads back to the original design test pressure. You're going to be looking at your valves and valve seats. Your exhaust valve is one that tends to take all of the hammering. If you're changing any valves, you want to be changing your valve seats. These are press fit into a counterbore in the cylinder head. Once you put the new valve seats in, or if you've pressed them in, they will be distorted after pressing them in. So you normally machine them or the ground in the cylinder head using the valve guide as for centralising everything. And then you would lap it, your valve into the respective seat, and then check the seating area with engineer's blue. You want to be checking your valve guides for wear. Depending on the size of the engine, smaller engines, these are difficult to measure. If your valve stem is only about 10 millimeters, it's kind of difficult to measure that all of the way down through the guide. But you put your valve into its respective guide and feel for any wear. If there's any wear in there, you will notice it. Your valve, you will find some lateral movement with your between your valve stem and your guide. You want to inspect your injector pockets. Some of these may be cast into the cylinder head. Some of them have copper tubes in, which are cold roll top and bottom, and can be a problem for water leakage. Again, this if you suspect anything that's leaking on. If you do have copper tubes in your injector pockets, you need to hydrostatically pressure test your cylinder head. Again, if you're fitting new injector pockets, you would need to hydrostatically test your cylinder head. You can lap the bottom of your the landing face where your injector sits. If it's a flat bottom, some of them will fit on a flat bottom with a copper sealing washer, and others will fit with a taper, depends what engine you're on. You want to be inspecting your cooling water space for any corrosion, erosion and any cavitation indication. You also want to be looking for any scale buildup. There shouldn't be any scale buildup which would affect the heat transfer. You want to be checking your valve springs. These should be measured, and in your original manufacturer's literature you'll have a length for the springs. And that's really it, really. Oh, your rocker shafts, will include the rocker shaft and bushings into your cylinder heads. You want to be checking the bore of these. Normally rocker shafts will have a bronze bush fitted, and measure the bore to make sure your bore is within original design specifications. And that's really it with your cylinder head. If I think of anything else, I'll stick it onto the next subject, which will be pistons and piston rings. Okay, thanks very much, and hope you're all keeping well, and stay isolated, and don't catch this virus. Okay, bye.